Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's get into the world of politics. And all of us know, or most of us know, former State Senator Ken Hollis. He's been a guest on this program, been on my radio show, Politics with a Punch, and seen him for years. His son is with us today. I'd like to welcome businessman and a civic leader, Paul Hollis, who's joining us here in the program. Hey, Paul.
Thanks, Joe.
Good to see you. Now, tell our viewers a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been a person that owns a business. I started trading coins at a very young age. My grandmother gave me a coin. I was only 6 years old, and ever since then, I just fell in love with them. And 30 years later, I now own my own business, and I trade collectible coins all over the United States. And that's
a big business around the country, isn't it?
It's a very big business, multi-billion dollars, and it surprises a lot of people. But I actually have personally delivered coins that have traded in excess of $1 million.
And I know at least some of us are probably familiar with Blanchard and Company, one of the bigger firms, and you worked with them before launching out on your own, right?
That's exactly right. I worked there for 7 years, and I was their numismatist, and that's just a fancy word for coin expert, but that was a great honor, and there's about 100 people in that company, and they're all very good friends of mine, and when I went out on my own, it was very exciting, and I still keep great contacts with all those guys and gals.
Okay, you've got this successful career in the coin industry, got your own business, doing well. Then all of a sudden, I'm hearing rumors, and that's why I wanted to have you here on the program today, that you are considering a race for United States Senate. And I wanted to have you on if you could clear that up for our viewers. First of all, are you considering the race?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no clearing it up. You know, I want to be very clear on this. It is absolutely something that I'm considering right now. I know that the primary is just a very short time away. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it with a very clear message, and I want to make sure that I've got all the money behind me to make sure that I make a good, solid run at this.
And tell us why you're considering doing this.
I'm doing this because, well, I've been in a political family. I've seen my dad over the years.
It's in the blood.
It is in the blood, but the strange thing was, you know, I just mentioned this to my dad a couple of weeks ago, and I think it surprised him because I've got two brothers and my dad, and I'm probably the least political of everybody in the family. And I said, Dad, this is something I really want to do. And he asked me the appropriate questions, and that is, you know, why do you want to do this? And, you know, one of my major reasons is because 15 years ago, I graduated from LSU, and every year since then, I get that dreaded phone call, and it's one of my friends calling to say, you know what, Paul, I'm leaving the state. I have to go somewhere else to find another job. And I hate getting those phone calls. And I think that somebody like me, very aggressive, very ambitious, and more than anything else, very passionate, I think somebody like me going to Washington, D.C. Would have a huge impact. I've been inspired by Governor Jindal. I think that when he was elected, what a huge message to the rest of the country. He's the youngest governor in the United States right now, and he's making an impact every single week. And, you know, I think that I could bring that kind of enthusiasm. I think somebody like me in politics, especially at the United States Senate level, I think that people would certainly stand up and say, wow.
Paul, you and Governor Jindal are about the same age.
That's exactly right. In fact, I actually went to school with his wife, Supriya.
So you're considering this, looking into it, but Republicans out there might say, hey, well, we've got a candidate, John Kennedy.
My response to that is, let me say this. I registered to vote when I was 18 years old. That was 18 years ago. And I've been a Republican for 18 years. I've been a true conservative. I look at somebody like John Kennedy, and I think he has been a liberal Democrat for 30 years. I've been a Republican for 18 years. He hasn't been a Republican for 18 months. In fact, he's been a Republican for less than 8 months. And my thing is when you're in politics, you know, there's the liberal left and the conservative right, and some people are going to adjust their position accordingly for the purpose of being elected. And okay, if you really want to get elected and you're willing to do that, okay, that's fine. But the reason I have a problem with it is I think it does a huge injustice to the electorate, because unless you're passionate about your beliefs, you're not going to affect change. And I'm passionate about my beliefs. I just woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm surprised, but my conservative philosophy, I think that is the will of most people in Louisiana.
And you don't think John Kennedy represents that?
Not at all. I think voting for John Kennedy would probably be similar to voting for Mary Landrieu. And I'm not going to say anything bad about Senator Landrieu. Andrew. I think that she represents her party very, very well, but I think I'm looking at this Senate race and I'm thinking there's no conservative in this race, and everybody's lining up behind John Kennedy, and it's confusing to me. And I know the president's coming in town next week, I think on the 22nd, and that's confusing to me because, you know, do we have a short memory? It wasn't but 4 years ago, and John Kennedy was supporting John Kerry. And that was just 4 years ago. And he supported Kathleen Blanco, people on his campaign. I mean, he's just linked to a lot of Democrats, and he should be because he was a Democrat for nearly 30 years.
If you run, that's going to be part of your message?
My message can be very clear. Vote for the conservative. There's only one in this campaign, and that's me. But I'm not saying I'm definitely going to do this, because if I do this, I can promise you I'm going to be somebody to reckon with. And the reason I say that is I'm not going to do this unless I have a lot of money behind me, and I've been working quietly to get that done. In fact, in presenting this to my dad, I made sure that I had lots of commitments for lots of money, and I said, you know, this is going to be a very, very strong candidacy. And he kind of took a deep breath, just like you're doing now, and saying, wow, this is really, you know, kind of out of left field. But
did he fall out of his chair, by the way?
Actually, what he did is he got everybody in his, he said, I can't keep this to myself. I got to get everybody in the office. And he sat them all down. He said, Paul, you give them the same presentation you give me. And that's exactly what I did. And they could see that my passion was there. And I said, I want to do this. I want to do everything that I can. I look at my dad and I think, wow, he's done a phenomenal job as a young child. You know, I used to sit in the back of the Louisiana State Senate watching him, and I thought, look at him go, look at him go. I was so proud, and I hope that 20 years from now, my daughter can look at me in that way. And let me say this too. I hope that my daughter, you know, one day she'll probably get married. I hope she never calls me, or her husband never calls me and says, you know what, I've got to leave the state of Louisiana because I've got to find a job elsewhere. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that day never comes.
That's a point that I think a lot of folks out there share, because they've had those calls too. Final question here. When are you going to make your final decision here?
Time is definitely of the essence. I will make the decision within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it. 2 weeks. And and if I do this, and there is a strong likelihood, I can tell you it's going to be a blitzkrieg kind of campaign.
All right. And listen, we'll pass it on to the viewers when we get the answer from you. Paul Hollis, thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure.
Big decision coming, and it could be a big race for the U.S. Senate on the Republican side.